Hello, LEGO fans. Bricks Unbound here with another Building Hogwarts update. And we have hit episode 90, that's 90, which means that it is time for a tour of the castle, since I do those every 10 updates, so we can see the progress that has been made since the previous castle tour video. And there has been quite a bit that has happened. Most of it, though, is kind of back behind the castle. You can see the new hospital tower back there. And as we walk around, you'll see a bunch more rock work in certain places, which might not be the most exciting updates ever. But I do think it is making the castle look closer and closer to complete. So let's go ahead and get started. I always start at the Great Hall, but let's start down at this end instead. So we are at the far, I guess, eastern side of the castle here. So we've got the bell towers down at this end. Still so happy with how these look, even though it was built quite some time ago. Obviously, the dragon is not on the correct part of the castle, but I guess why couldn't it perch up here temporarily? But these are still one of my favorite features. Just the architecture has a lot of small little details in it, like on the actual model. So it was fun to be able to recreate those in Lego form. And then down below that is where the Chamber of Secrets is. Still missing the covering over it, which will then have greenhouses kind of like this one, although I think I'm going to make a little bit smaller version so that way I can fit multiples of them sitting up here above the Chamber of Secrets. This is, of course, very unfinished. It turns out finding these parts in light bluish gray, I tried to remember to always check when I'm going to be putting a bricklink order in. I've just had bad luck on finding those particular curves in the color I'm looking for. I'm not necessarily going on my way to find it. It's just when I'm ordering, like a bunch of tan parts or dark bluish gray parts, I'll just try to remember to check for those and just haven't found them yet. So those replaced. Obviously, we also need quite a bit more detail underneath here to signify the more swampy looking water and things. It's kind of how I'm picturing it. Technically in the movie, it doesn't really have much color to it, but I think that'd make it a bit more interesting of an area if I get something at least to represent water down here in a little bit more interesting color. And then, of course, I still need to build the statue of Salazar Slytherin as well, and then do all of the work on the walls here. But it's got the general vibe going. I'm pretty happy with how the door is looking. Might still need to do a couple of color swaps there. So this definitely needs some work, but I do like the location and the approximate size of it. Above that, and behind our bell towers here, is the long gallery section of Hogwarts. Inside there is the Transfiguration classroom, and then actually a large open space that I can put something else. Haven't figured out exactly what I want to do yet, but that's fine. We'll take a look down at the courtyard behind it from over here. So the Transfiguration courtyard is what this one is. So it's got the large astronomy tower off to one side, which we'll see lots of different angles here. But this is the tallest tower of Hogwarts and is also the tallest of what I have built, which I think is good. It makes sense. Keeps with the canon, I suppose. The courtyard is very empty right now. It just has a tree sitting in it and then a couple of random minifigures to help with envisioning scale of things. It is fully enclosed now, which is nice to see. And moving over from there, not as tall as the astronomy tower, but still pretty tall here, is the Ravenclaw tower. At least that's where I've put the Ravenclaw common room. And since the last multiple of 10 at least, hopefully I don't drop anything. There is in fact a interior down in there. The lighting is going to be bad, but you can get a general idea there. And this is higher up than I can see down in. So hopefully this video footage shows at least some details in there. So pretty happy with how that turned out. There are a few updates I need to make in there. People did a good job pointing out suggestions on things to include in there, such as like, a telescope somewhere, which would make sense, and I just didn't do it. The wall underneath it here does hinge open. I'll probably put some kind of spiral staircase in here. There's the gray lady, and then a random student, and then a very rough mock of what I could potentially do for a spiral staircase type idea. It's very crooked, just laying in there right now. Underneath that, going with Ravenclaw and their knowledge and thirst for knowledge, at least, we have the library. I have added this actually upper layer here. I forgot that I just had random pieces sitting on top though. I was going to replace the railing with these. That's what it was. So there's kind of an upper floor, and then underneath more stacks with more books on them, and some tables run along the side here. There is more library underneath there. I just am not going to be able to access it with one hand from here, and it's not done. I still need to put plenty more books in there and get the floor looking a little bit more interesting, but it is relatively easily accessible to get at least a glimpse in there. Okay. Underneath the library is the Charms classroom, which again kind of fits with this whole section being more Ravenclaw focused, since Flitwick is of course the head of Ravenclaw. His office would also be down there. Up from there, we reach our viaduct entrance hall here, and we're actually going to start seeing a few more things that have been updated. Over here, we've got our stone bridge tower, which actually got built up to the correct height now, widened out to the correct length, and is put in place, which is pretty exciting. Fills in the connection between the two halves of the castle here. And then plenty of rock work also got completed under here. But in the viaduct entrance hall itself, there's not much in there. The top floor has a kind of rough draft of a Defense Against the Dark Arts classroom, which I think is where I'm going to keep it because I like having the windows on the side of the classroom. Problem is getting into it to be able to view it from the outside. So I might have to figure out a way to improve that a little bit. Over here on this end, again, pretty much empty except the top of this tower, which has the divination classroom in it. So there is, look at that. Very happy with how that turned out. Still need to add in some more details, but it's having trouble focusing. There we go. But I am pleased with how that looks still, and it is luckily pretty easy to view the inside of. I can just easily lift off the corner here. That tower doesn't have anything in it yet. I could easily put something up top, just don't know what I'd want to do yet. I guess I could. I was thinking maybe like the Book of Acceptance, Quill of Admittance, maybe the other way around. But I think that's actually supposed to be maybe closer to the headmaster's office somewhere. I think it's just locked in a tall tower somewhere. So maybe that could go there. Oh, that'd be a very small thing to put in a pretty large tower. This tower still needs its roof put on. I've been trying and thinking like, I'll do that next, or I will fill in this gap. And then I get distracted by something else. But I'll fix that eventually. And then we are now at kind of the main view that is used a lot for establishing shots of Hogwarts or just pictures in general of it, with the Great Hall over here, Grand Staircase Tower, and then the quad with the viaduct bridge going across and connecting between the two. That bridge is more or less the correct size and location. It is not attached to anything yet because, and there is a reason that most of the work lately has been going on in the back. That's because if I need to get up on the table and reach something, I don't want to be tripping over this. So if I don't have it attached, I can just remove it. But I am slowly making the rock work creep its way around here. And then also I filled in all of this over here as well since the last multiple of 10 since episode 80 of this. This wall has been added here. Still need to work on getting the angle exactly right there. You can see some gaps. I do have some different angled wedge plates that I think will actually fill in the gap a little bit better. I just need to remove the very large tower here to get underneath and actually work on things. And I kind of want to be ready to do all of the stuff under there before I move this out of the way, because I do like having it here for scale and spacing and things. The quad courtyard also, we'll get another glimpse as we go around the back, but that has been completely added and enclosed now. The last big tour, there was nothing in there, but now there is I don't think I'll be able to get a good focus in on it. You can kind of tell, but there's Professor Flitwick in the middle. He's teaching another levitation focused class, but in this case they decided feathers was kind of boring, so they went out into this courtyard and took over the gobstones playing area to practice levitating some balls and dropping them into targets. So that's what's going on there. And then we've got a walkway that goes around the edge of the courtyard there, and it actually keeps going up on the back because the tower that the hospital wing is in has been also built up and put into place, which we see back there. That was a very recent update when I got that mostly done, other than interiors. Also, there's this whole section here that was not here in episode 80, so we'll take a look at that as we get around to the back. Up front is my original mock here of the boathouse. It is a bit out of scale. Well, maybe not out of scale, but with how short, quote unquote, the rock work is, this would really be like much lower down. I'm not really able to do that with how my setup currently is. So I do think I'm going to build a maybe half-sized-ish one of these. I do still want to make sure that the gap in the front is wide enough for a boat to get through, because right now it's actually wide enough for two, which I think looks great. I think this is a good scale. I don't plan on like disassembling this version of it, but I'll probably build a smaller version to set in place here, because then there'll be lots of walkway or like stairs that come up behind and kind of go around and get up to this entrance to the entrance hall courtyard, which remains unchanged. It's even the same scene. Oh shoot, I forgot to replace Trelawney's body there, so it's just her legs. Oops, I stole my Trelawney from there for the divination classroom, and I know I have an extra one or two of her somewhere, and I just keep forgetting to dig through my minifigure bin to locate her. So oops, sorry Trelawney, you not only got fired, some other terrible things have happened, I guess. I do think I might actually need to replace these benches now that I look at it with not quite as stud covered. They just kind of really stick out. Anyway, that's the entrance courtyard here. And we've got Dumbledore coming out of the front. Still need to do all of the rock work in here. Again, I'm trying to kind of go from the back to the front so that way I can get up on the table and shift things slightly. Because if I connect everything here and then find out there's some kind of gap in here I missed, it's not going to work well. There'll be weird gaps and things in walls of the castle. So I do have a method to the madness. Hufflepuff common room is still going to be at the base of this tower. There will be a door that connects through here, with Filch's office being this upper section. No real changes for that, though. I added a little bit more water up here, so now the boat is at least sitting completely on the lake. And this is just the official set, which was very good, better than anything I could have come up with. So it just gets to stay as is and sit here for the Durmstrang ship. Rockwork underneath here. Again, I've been focusing on the back, so I haven't done a whole lot here to change up the Great Hall. There's some modifications I would definitely like to make to the Great Hall, which I plan on doing eventually, but those are things that are a little bit higher priority right now. Just like before, the plan is Slytherin Common Room under the back edge of the Great Hall here. I can slide out this wall and that's where it will be. It'll replace the banner set that I just have sitting in there eventually. Whenever I feel a stroke of inspiration to work on it, well, I'm having trouble getting that back into place. Coming around here, I don't think there's been any changes back here at all since the previous update. So the little island over here where Dumbledore's tomb will be. I do think I'm going to make it a little bit bigger than it is. I have plenty of space, so I might as well just extend it out a little bit more. And then we've got underneath here, this section does slide out. I do think in general, though, I need this whole wall to be a little bit further out, this wall of rocks, because there is a pathway that I'm planning on putting that goes from this door. That you can see the gap in the railing there. Little path that will come down the side and then go around the edge here to connect up to this entrance. So now we're looking in at the quad courtyard from another angle, back behind Snape there. In this section below is the final part of the Sorcerer's Stone challenges, with Quirrell and Harry facing off. The other ones are underneath this section or on the back. These all hinge open. On top, I have the Room of Requirement, the DA version, for when Dumbledore's army is practicing. And underneath that is where I am planning on putting the Room of Hidden Objects version, which right now just has a few minifigs standing in there from that Room Requirement set from a couple years ago. And this section doesn't hinge open at all. I might add hinges in eventually. I don't have anything in there right now. We'll take a look, zoomed back here from this end of the castle. Might as well get a look through at what things look like. But we are about halfway through here, and now we'll move around to the backside to take a look at actually where most of the progress exterior-wise occurred. But I really like looking through all of the towers down along Hogwarts here. It is actually a pretty kind of like cramped almost, but I can just imagine how much fun it probably is to hop on a broomstick and fly in and out of all these towers going around. That would just be so cool. Anyway, we've got our training grounds tower here, and then a lot of open space. There is more structure that comes off of here, connects to a wall that runs along the outside of the castle here. This will, of course, be covered up as well. And then the plan is that the flying lesson will be set up here with Madam Hooch and the first years and just a bunch of open green space, more or less, so then they can practice their flying. And as I was mentioning, flying in and out of these towers would be pretty fun. Okay, here is the tricky part, because there is not much clearance here. That's like 12 inches or 13 inches, something like that. We'll see what angles I can get. This is the Defense Against the Dark Arts Tower. There's been lots of different variations of this particular part of the castle between video games and movies and everything. And some of them, the Astronomy Tower is actually like connected to this and is just sitting on top of it. In my version, the Astronomy Tower is off to the side, and I have actually built in this whole Astronomy Tower courtyard in front where students can do whatever they want. I got lots of good suggestions on that video of potential scenes to add in there, which could be pretty fun. And now, here we go. Hard to move around because I'm really trying not to knock into the owlery sitting right beside me here. But in this area here, which is mainly a large chasm that I'm planning on filling in with water pieces and not leaving it just looking dark bluish gray like that, because it really should probably drop down quite a bit further than it is, but unfortunately there's a table there and I do need space under the tables for storage and things, so can't really drop the tables much. But I do have the suspension bridge in place. It doesn't have, the suspension cables attached yet. I think I've figured out though how I'm going to build those. So hopefully that'll be coming sooner rather than later. but it is in place. And actually, I have a big ugly rock piece sitting under it, but it isn't actually resting any. Focus. It isn't actually resting any weight on that there. It is very securely attached at each end. Like I'm shaking it pretty good here. Nothing is coming unattached. So the suspension cables will just be for effect. But I'm pretty happy with how this looks. And then of course behind everything here was just open space looking underneath the viaduct entrance hall here. And now it's all filled in with rocks, or well, with bricks to represent rocks, which is looking a lot better. As I've mentioned plenty of other times, I am planning on eventually giving a bit more detail to the rocks. They're not just big ugly rock pieces and plain old bricks, at least putting some plant life in there, some slopes and things. Then on the other end here of our suspension bridge is here we go, a better angle at it, is I'm just calling it the suspension bridge Gatehouse. I don't think it actually has a name. It doesn't appear in the movies. It just is in maybe some very distant shots in the films. You can kind of see it, but that is complete as well. I might still put some tiles and things on top, but very happy with how this turned out, and then the rock work underneath as well. And there is a little hidden door off to the side there where students could just access this little flat area. I'm planning on putting some grass or moss or something in here to brighten it up a little bit, give it a little more color. Maybe even a small tree or something that students can be doing homework under, or just relaxing and watching the world go by. And then there's this whole area here. So right now I have the owlery sitting up on top. I did switch out some colors there to actually make things be the right color. I got some parts I was missing. That's the approximate height it'll be at. Obviously, it's not just going to be propped up on some big pieces like that. This will all get built in. I mentioned it in a relatively recent update, but there will be a fairly large cave type space under here, or what I could make a cave type space. So I might try my hand at the lake where the locket is supposedly hidden in Half-Blood Prince. Obviously, that's not actually at Hogwarts. It's in fact a very, very long ways away from Hogwarts. But I might have a big open cave space where I could do an attempt at it. I do need to figure out, though, some way to do lighting, because that needs some eerie lighting going on, and otherwise it'll be underneath everything. But above that, students would basically go across here, and there's a winding path that leads up to the entrance of the owlery over on this side, which we see a few times in the films. I think I'm going to do a little bit of a bridge here, and then here's something representing water, but then have a little stream that goes down into a small waterfall down into the chasm area there. I think that would look pretty good. Just some other angles of what the castle looks like when viewed from this side here. And now moving on to the other section has been completely added. So I mentioned earlier, these top floors here were not here in update 80. They've been added. Do still need to fill in these gaps over here. I think the reason I'm putting it off is because it's going to be tricky to get a good corner there with these particular slope pieces, because they don't come in like corner versions that are angled from multiple directions. So it's going to be a little bit difficult to get it to work. Luckily, though, it will be mostly hidden by the top of this tower here. So if it has small little inconsistencies in it, it'll actually be pretty hard to spot from most angles. Each of these walls here, or each of these floors, does hinge open. There's nothing in them right now, just supports holding up the floors above. But those will be good spots to access. And then here is the base of Gryffindor Tower. It will continue up with just like the wall of tower here, up until about here, and then it gets a bit wider, and has, of course, a roof on it as well. But that'll be fun to actually finally get that put into place with some details inside. Just have to get everything under it, at least the structure of everything under it done first. And now we are at the hospital tower, so the newest addition to the castle. There's just lots of open space underneath at the moment. I do have a few ideas of what will go in down here, which is mentioned. So back there you can see a couple of plant pieces. I'm planning on putting Fred and George's portable swamp in this corridor, probably complete with Filch on a little boat to punt people across it. And then in this section, I'm not sure what I'm going to put there. The next one up, I think I'm going to probably put the prefect's bathroom in here. Has good angles. I had other spots I was thinking of putting that at one point, but I think it's going to go in here. And then I have the hospital wing, which is actually fully decked out for an interior, which I am pretty happy with. There's a separate video on that. And there'll be a little bit of attic space up top if I want to put something there. And down, 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 down. So here's Fluffy. This is the version from a few years ago. I have not purchased the newest main tower set to get the Fluffy out of there, because I don't want to buy it just for Fluffy. I'll wait till it goes on sale, or if I get a good gift card or something that I can start putting towards it, I do it that way, but I don't really want to buy it for the full price. And underneath everything, as makes sense, since Fluffy's up there, we've got our Sorcerer's Stone challenges, got our Devil's Snare, Winged Keys. Oh wow, hard to get around back here, sorry. The chessboard set, I do need to replace, and I forgot about this until this video. There's some gray bricks in that back wall that need to be swapped out for dark bluish gray. And past the chess set, we then have the knocked out troll that Coral already took care of, as well as the potions riddle. And that, I think, is a pretty complete tour here of the castle. We are quite lengthy. Okay, let's walk right back around to the front here and finish up the video. But I hope you have enjoyed it. It has been a lot of hours and days of work, including a, unfortunately, fairly lengthy pause or two in the process. Especially recently, I had some construction going on around my basement, so I had to move almost everything out of here and then cover up the base of Hogwarts, basically, so that everything want to get completely covered in dust, which actually worked pretty well. The city over there is not in place at all. It's still a complete mess, but this is focusing on the progress so far in the last 10 updates of building Hogwarts. So I hope you have enjoyed the video. Please let me know what you think down in the comments below, and keep coming back for more. Thank you for watching.